with a brewing controversy over the introduction of the new school curriculum, for which teachers and parents have criticized the federal government. While they allege that the move was made without key stakeholders in the decision-making process, they also claim that the schools are rather ill-prepared for such introduction. At a virtual meeting organized by the Concerned Parents and Educators Network, the stakeholders say private schools, parents, teachers and students were left out and only learned about the changes just as other members of the public. They warned that Nigeria risks compromising education quality as most schools are unprepared for the abrupt rollout. Dr. Peter Ogudoro is an education researcher and leader of Nigerian teachers community. He joins me now to examine the new school curriculum, the timelines and other surrounding issues. Thank you very much for speaking with us. If I get the complaints right, they are not upset about a new school curriculum, but more about the timing, right?
Yes. Yeah, well, the timing and the lack of preparedness on the part of the school system, to provide the infrastructure and the manpower for this to happen. We have this reputation in our country for being very good at building a house from the roof. And we know that without a strong foundation, it's difficult for the storm not to pull the house down when it does come. So it's not a bad idea to have a new curriculum, but you don't initiate and implement a new curriculum without putting in place the right technology and, more importantly, training the teachers who are going to play a very critical role in helping you to implement the new curriculum successfully. We haven't done anything in that area, especially as it concerns training teachers, getting the right manpower in place, and we are thinking of implementing a new curriculum. This is a very problematic situation in our hands.
What would be the ideal process for a new curriculum introduction? I know, for instance, that the new subject matter that was brought in require perhaps new infrastructure. And I don't know, the structural part of it probably has been done. Talk to us about the process of getting a new school curriculum implemented.
Yeah, in the business of education, we talk about the necessity for the turn and the gown to always talk. But unfortunately for us in Nigeria, we just do the gown all the time. So people stay in the average tower and they think they know what industrialists are looking for. And without consulting them, they introduce, courses and the new curriculum like the one we are seeing now, and impose it on everyone. So at the end of the day, what you find is that what government is doing with very good intentions ends up not giving us the kind of result we're looking for. So if you want to come up with a new curriculum, you should follow due process. And due process would mean get all the stakeholders involved, the industry, the people who are going to consume the products of the system that we are envisaging would be trained with this new curriculum. But that's not what we have seen. Sometimes we get deceived into thinking that these people have consulted. If you ask them, they will tell you they have consulted, but who are these people they are consulting? Most of the time, they don't even talk to the children. Children are front and center when you come to designing a new curriculum. They should be in an ideal system. But in the Nigerian circumstance, policymakers seldom consult students' pupils because they think pupils do not have any ideas to share with policy formulators, which is a very unfortunate situation in our hands. And of course, the teachers, the ordinary people who run the classrooms are the ones who know whether these things are possible or not. Nobody talks to them. You just talk to the people who are at the very high level in terms of politics, and you go and do what you want to do. At the end of the day, teachers will say, let us see if it's going to work. And most of the time, it will not work. So we haven't consulted widely. We haven't talked to the students. We haven't talked to the pupils, even in primary school, to find out if that's what they want. We haven't talked to the people who train teachers, faculties of education, who are going to prepare the next generation of teachers for the kind of work you want to see done in classrooms. Nobody got them involved in this whole process. And of course, the industry that will provide the assistance you need to be able to execute the hands-on part of the new curriculum, because I can see government is very worried about the fact that our children finish from school and they are not able to become useful to industry. So employers are complaining that most of the people coming out of our school system are not industry ready. And so government is trying to solve that problem with this, but they are going about it the wrong way, because the people who should be consulted and who should be partners in the process of making this happen are not on board. And that's very unfortunate for us.
As much as, yes, educationists like yourself have concerns about the way they've gone about it, let's look at some of the recommendations for the new curriculum. Some are up there, but there are some that are pretty practical, and I would like you to speak on that, on the merits of the submission, and that is for some schools, it's mandate for schools rather, not some schools, junior secondary school, JSS1 students, to pick at least one trade subject to boost practical skills. We also know that they also talked about project-based work, which will be introduced to strengthen practical learning and innovation. As someone who is in the system, how laudable is this contribution? And then talk to us about the technicality of implementing it when we know that there are schools in this country that do not even have roofs or seats for the pupils.
Yeah, you already sound like somebody who can actually help us to resolve the challenges that all of us are grappling with now. The truth be told, it's not a bad idea that we try to introduce these trade subjects. But more fundamentally, we also have to ask the question, are our parents and our children interested in what the government is actually talking about? Theoretically, yes, everybody acknowledges that we all need to learn how to use our hands to work, so that if we can't find the jobs that require us to use pen and paper to work in offices, we'll be able to set up businesses on our own. The truth we know, however, is that even those who are able to use their hands to work currently are not able to make the kind of money that will put food on the table. So these trade subjects are actually not, we haven't been able to do enough public relations for the trade subjects, because the people who are mechanics, who are furniture makers, who are welders, we know that they are among the dregs of society. They are not earning enough money. So children will prefer to go to, do tech subjects, chemistry, physics, and biology that will take them straight to university. They finish and they become politicians and become very rich people overnight. Okay? So having said that, we must recognize that it's very critical for us not to forget that you cannot afford to build your house from the roof. You don't start from there. You don't put the cart before the horse. The horse won't be able to move. The cart cannot deliver at the time you want it to deliver. We haven't trained the people who are going to train the children. We haven't bought the infrastructure. We haven't put laboratories in place. We haven't bought the machines. The societies we are copying.
So what you're saying, because sorry to interject, Doc. I did see that they talked about teacher training as part of the curriculum review. So this should have come first before they announced the introduction, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. You don't even make the announcement when you haven't put these things in place. That's how other societies do it. Before you can make an announcement and say you are going to start implementation, you would have taken like 5 years ahead to bring in the equipment, the right technology, and you'll be training your teachers quietly. And then at the point of you being ready to execute, then you make a public announcement. And
so is there still room? Is there still room for quickly? Yeah, quickly. Is there still room for conversation between the curriculum planners and the relevant stakeholders, teachers and educators like yourself? Is there still time for that? And what should they do now, even though they've announced it? Should there be a callback?
Definitely, they are not going to be able to implement this. You can put me on record for it. They are not going to be able to implement it. So that conversation must happen. We have seen it with WAEC, we have seen it with JAM, we have seen it, with virtually all the relevant, education agencies in our country. They come out with policies that are not well tuned. At the end of the day, when parents and students and teachers complain, we shut down the policies and go back to the drawing board. That is what is going to happen here, and that's inevitable.
I guess we'll still come back to you when we have developments on this subject. Thank you so much for being here.
My pleasure.